Hi everybody and welcome back to UR Supreme Toys. We got our second wave of G.I. Joe Ultimates in the mail the other day. Did not expect those anytime soon. I was sure that the first wave of Silverhawks would show up first. But here we are. Another wave of G.I. Joes in the house. So this time we've got Destro, Baroness, Lady J, and Flint. This is a pretty strong wave, I think. Other than Flint, I really like all these characters. I just didn't really care for Flint. But we are going to start our unboxing with the silver-headed man himself, Destro. So let's go ahead and get him out of this shipper box. And as you can see, we have this wonderful blue camo metallic slipcase. Got a little dog tag right there for Destro. Weapon supplier. Alright, so let's do a slip reveal. Okay. Ooh, goody. Alright, this is a nice shiny boy here. First impressions are pretty good. Got a lot of hands in there, a couple extra heads, a lot of weapons, some accessories. Looks pretty nice. Really digging it so far. This is such a weird looking character. Just the whole giant collared shirt with the bare chest. Even as a kid, I thought that was just strange. But that's Destro. That's what he looks like. So, and I gotta say, off the bat, the likeness is pretty spot on. Turn around, we have the box has images from the actual animated series, as well as a massive bio. Destro, weapons supplier, file name unknown, primary military specialty, weapons manufacturer, secondary military specialty, terrorist, birthplace unknown. Destro is the faceless power behind Mars Military Armaments Research System, largest manufacturer of state-of-the-art weaponry. To Destro, war is man's most natural state. The fittest survive, and the greatest technological advances are made. He maintains a luxurious lifestyle around the world. Destro provides high-tech arms to any side able to meet his price, and will incite war where it does not exist. He dons his silver battle mask, a family tradition, and enters battle himself, either with Cobra, Command. Destro is their major weapons supplier, or against them if it's better for business. Destro respects the G.I. Joe team for their combat skills and expertise, but abhors them for wasting such skills to maintain peace. He's totally dedicated to seeing them undermined, subverted, and destroyed. So let's go ahead and pop him out of this box and see how he stands up. Alright, Destro's got a lot going on here. Big pile of accessories. So let's just go ahead and get a gander at his putum. His silver putum. It's very well painted, I gotta say, right off the bat. It's not completely a clean finish, but it looks great. The face sculpt is simply amazing. It looks just like him. I love the little collar with the studs around it. There is some flashing visible around the head. He has this little chest medallion right there. This is sculpted into the chest, and this is glued on. It's not completely clean. There's a little bit of flashing right there on the side of it, but I think it looks okay. This collar is a massive chunk of plastic that is simply glued to the torso. So this is a separate red piece of plastic glued on. I think that's fine. It just, from the back, it kind of looks weird. I don't know. But, you know, that's just part of the design. It's definitely I don't know. It looks better from the front than like say the side or the back. Destro is kind of like, to me, he's always been like sort of like the pimp of Cobra. He always had Baroness on his sidearm. Other than the head sculpt, the rest of the body is pretty minimalistic. But of course, he is based on his animated design, as are all of these characters. These bands on the legs aren't painted very well. Everything else seems to be okay. At this point, we're spending so much money on these figures. I just feel like there should be a little bit more to it. A lot of the bang is going into the accessories. And if you're like me, most people are probably going to display him traditionally. And a lot of these extra accessories are just going to go in a bag. And you're not going to use them. Now, I like the variance and the variety as far as accessory count goes. But when the prices are getting so high, I don't see a purpose in making the prices higher. So I don't know if knocking accessories off the count is going to knock the price down. Knowing Super7 and other similar companies, they're not gonna drop the price. They'll drop accessories and they'll keep raising the price. So that's kind of like a moot point. But I feel like you should pass the savings on to your customers at some point, at some level. And we're just not seeing that anywhere with any company right now, which, you know, why would they? We're going to keep paying it. But anyway, I think the figure looks good. I love the head sculpt. His stature is real nice and solid. He is almost 7.5 inches tall, which is pretty good. Pretty good size for this guy. The head is like the most important feature of this character, and I feel like they got that dead on. It looks great. So let's check out his articulation real quick. The head articulation is very minimal. You're not going to get a lot of up and down and a lot of side to side. And the collar is going to keep him from turning too far, but you get enough. It looks good. His arms, got the arms are really kind of semi-gummy. I don't know if you can see that. There's a lot of pliability in this bicep cut. So, I don't know. As I'm pulling it up, I feel that arm want to give a lot right there. I don't really like that. So it's not stiff, but it's gummy. Like where in a lot of instances it would be really stiff and hard to move, but not gummy. And now it's just kind of gummy feeling. I don't know. It's not as bad as some of the figures I've seen. So his shoulders go about so high, not really far at all. He has this upper arm cut, a bicep hinge, and a twist. So he can twist and hinge on both sides. And he also has his, his hinge and swivel wrists. He has the totally blown ab twists here. I appreciate that they cut out the ab crunch, because I'm just not a fan of ab crunches on humanoid figures. They still have not got this bobble down pat. It twists, but there's almost no bobble there, and I don't understand that. It's a simple engineering technique. I don't know why they can't get it right. It absolutely does nothing other than twist. So what's the point? I don't like the pelvis. It's just such a huge gap in the thighs that this is an instance where making this pelvis a rubber, softer, pliable rubber, would have made it so much easier to engineer the pelvis and waist joint so that this bobble would have been amazingly effective, and they could have hid these thigh cuts and gaps a lot more cleaner. So I just don't know why they don't do it like that. I wish they would take a couple pages from other companies like NECA. But he has his hip hinge and twist on a ball, which I feel like is kind of outdated at this point. And as his knee goes a good 90, goes past the 90 degree, really, slightly past, which is pretty good. I would think there would be a knee twist, but there is not. It sticks right into the top of the lower leg right there, which is a weird design, really. I haven't quite seen that like that. So when you do that, he's going to have this weird squat look where you can't really separate his legs. But he does have a great range of motion in his feet with a hinge and a pivot. The ankle rockers are really good on him. Now, if only they would have been able to incorporate this waist bobble better, his range of motion would have been outstanding. But as far as his legs are concerned, he's got a pretty good range of motion with his legs, so you can do a lot of interesting poses, and you can move him relatively easily too. Widen out his stance, and he seems to stand no matter where I put him. So that's good. I mean, look at that. Those feet are very nice and solid. I appreciate that. Having solid ankles on these figures is a must. So they really knock that out of the park. Some hit and misses here, but he looks great. Now the accessories. Oh my gosh. There's so much here. Let's take a look. He has alternate heads. 3 alternate heads. He has his talking head, which I don't know if you can tell. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but there's this weird, like, chalky look to his lips. I don't know if they did that on purpose. It looks like he's got silver chapped lips. It matches the lining around his eyes. Which this isn't. This has that lighter gray around the eye. That is not the silver. But it doesn't quite have that chalky appearance as the paint on this one does. Which is interesting. I think it looks really good though. Nice little touch there. They didn't have to do that, and they did. It looks good. They have his laughing head sculpt where he's got his eyes shut and he's just like, that's a really, really cool looking head sculpt right there. This is an episode specific head sculpt. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but he's got this goop on his face. I think if I recall correctly, it gets on there and like hardens or something and he can't get it off. I don't remember. He has an Atari 2600 controller, which looks really nice. I don't know what this is for, but I just love the thought of Destro sitting there playing Atari. He comes with 3 wrist gauntlets. These are really cheap feeling and cheaply made. This is a very pliable but flimsy feeling plastic. And the like little grenades on top are a cheaply made red plastic. I can see these breaking over time if you're not careful, but initial use shouldn't be an issue. I just don't trust these. They just feel very, very cheap. But you got one with grenades. He's got one with missiles, little darts, which are flimsy, and I can imagine you breaking these off or breaking them right here on the ends because they're very thin. So be careful with those. And he has a second set with more darts. I don't know if this is intentional. Maybe he's supposed to have one for each arm. He has this really cool mask. It's like the Man in the Iron Mask type of helmet. It is spiked and it is firm. It is not a very pliable, but it's pliable around the edges, but these spikes are really hard. I am very iffy about sliding this over his face because I just see it scratching. It sort of reminds me of the issue with Duke, where his helmet fit very well, but the inside of the helmet was painted the same color green as the outside, so when you put it on and off, it left paint rub on the side of his head. So I'm going to gently put this over and see how it fits. It looks fine. It doesn't really fit the way I think it's intended because it hits that collar. Although maybe this mask isn't intended for him specifically. It just does not fit. It's going to hit that collar with those edges right here. So it's not going to go like right down to where his eyes need to be. Unless it's right there. And then even then it's going to stick off his face. So kind of a failure right there. But maybe this wasn't intended for him. I don't know exactly whose mask that's supposed to be, if it's his or supposed to be another episode specific thing for a specific character. He has this giant missile. I'm not quite sure if this goes to this launcher right here. Maybe it does. This is a big launcher. I'm not exactly sure if something's missing or if this is supposed to go on the end of it. I don't know what this is. I do not know what this is. It's like a little light or something, or I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's looks like it should stick to something, but it doesn't. He has a pair of binoculars, which is funny because a lot of characters in this line are coming with binoculars. Those look really good though. He has this short pistol, which I really like. This design. It's very minimalistic, very 80s animated style. He has a larger pistol, the same vein, nice and simple. I like that. Then he has a straight up beast of a handgun. This thing is massive. It's almost cartoonishly big, but I know for a fact that they have handguns that are this big. And then he has this rifle. 6 extra hands. He has the 2 closed fists on in the package. He has 2 opposing gripping hands for larger objects. He has 2 opposing pointing fingers, which, you know, Destro likes to point. Trigger finger and a waving hand. And these are all very nicely painted in that metallic paint. See how his head pops off? Pops off relatively easily. We could put on the talking head. Kind of tight. I like that. Let's give him a pointing finger, because Destro is always telling somebody what to do. And then we'll give him trigger finger. For some reason, he only has 1 real trigger finger. Not exactly sure why. And it is... What? I just noticed his trigger hand is closed. So what is this? What is this for? He has no trigger hands. He has pointing hands. I guess these would be more of a trigger hand. I guess since the guns are pretty big. But they just don't... They don't feel right. These don't feel right. And I don't exactly understand these trigger hands that he can't even put his fingers in the trigger. I mean, he's only got these pointing hands, and this one, I thought it was a trigger finger, but it is a closed hand, and I don't know what you would use that for. Is this for him to, like, is this supposed to be for his little launcher for his gauntlets? Like, I'd push the bottom. Alright, I don't like that. I don't like his hand selection. He needed trigger fingers, appropriate trigger fingers, and these are very lame, simple trigger fingers, but it's what I have, so I guess it's what we'll use. They do hold most of the weapons effectively, kind of like commanding his people, like, go shoot the jaws of Destro. He doesn't sound like that, but I don't have a deep enough voice to do Destro. Destro the arms dealer. I can't do it. That guy had an amazing deep voice. I don't know. I just kind of got mixed feelings about this guy. His hands are okay. His weapons are okay. He gets the job done. This is probably the most I would do as far as display with this Destro figure. He's going to be pointing his finger, yelling, and having a gun in his hand. As I've mentioned over and over again in my last Joe reviews, I cannot believe that they did not do the translucent laser effects for the weapons. I would like to think that at some point people would get on board and say, hey, we need these, and tell Super7 to at least release a weapons pack like they did with their previous wave, but with laser effects for their firearms, because that's one of the biggest draws of that show, was all the like blue and red laser effects going across the screen during the laser battles and those laser sound effects. I love those parts of the show, and it's a shame that we can't emulate those in some fashion. Anyway, this has been an unboxing and review of Super7's G.I. Joe Ultimates Wave 2 Destro, and I am UR Supreme Toys. Thank you so much for watching.